WWE just humiliated Liv Morgan on live TV, and what they did after is absolutely unforgivable. The most embarrassing and degrading moment any female wrestler has ever experienced just happened to Liv Morgan in front of millions of viewers, and the way WWE's production team, referees, and management handled this wardrobe malfunction proves that the company still doesn't respect their female superstars or care about protecting them when they're at their most vulnerable. Liv's emotional breakdown after what happened wasn't just about a costume failure. It was about being exposed, humiliated, and abandoned by a company that should have protected her dignity but instead prioritized ratings and viral moments over basic human decency. Before I break down exactly what happened, how long WWE let it continue, and why Liv was sobbing uncontrollably backstage afterward, answer me this: does WWE owe Liv Morgan a public apology and financial compensation for failing to protect her, or are wardrobe malfunctions just an unavoidable risk of the business that performers accept? Drop your answer below, because what happened to Liv Morgan is either a tragic accident that was handled as well as possible or corporate negligence that should result in policy changes and possibly lawsuits. The match itself was supposed to be Liv Morgan's moment of triumph, a high-profile contest that would elevate her status and cement her position as one of SmackDown's top female stars. She'd been working toward this opportunity for months, putting in extra training, perfecting her moveset, and mentally preparing for the biggest performance of her career. Liv's ring gear for the night was more elaborate than usual, designed to make a statement and create memorable visuals for what was supposed to be a career-defining victory. But the very thing that was supposed to make her look amazing became the source of her worst nightmare when the structural integrity of her outfit failed at the worst possible moment. The malfunction happened during a high-impact move about 8 minutes into the match. Liv was executing a springboard maneuver that required explosive athleticism and put significant stress on her ring gear. As she launched herself off the ropes, the top portion of her outfit suffered a catastrophic failure that left her partially exposed in a way that was immediately obvious to everyone in the arena and everyone watching at home. Liv's face showed the exact moment she realized what happened, her expression transforming from focused intensity to absolute horror in a fraction of a second. She immediately tried to cover herself with her arms while still being in the middle of an active match, creating an impossible situation where she had to choose between protecting her modesty and protecting herself from her opponent's offense. Quick question for you: what's the most memorable wardrobe malfunction in wrestling history? Comment below, because Liv's situation might be the most severe and poorly handled example ever. The production truck's response to this emergency is where WWE's failure becomes absolutely inexcusable and potentially legally actionable. Any competent director would have immediately cut to a wide shot, focused on the crowd, shown a replay of earlier action, done anything to stop broadcasting Liv's wardrobe malfunction to millions of viewers. But for a full 15 to 20 seconds, WWE's cameras stayed focused on Liv, some angles even zooming in closer, capturing her panic and her attempts to cover herself in graphic detail that felt exploitative rather than accidental. Those 15 seconds felt like an eternity to everyone watching and must have felt like a lifetime to Liv Morgan, who was experiencing every woman's nightmare scenario while knowing that millions of people were witnessing her humiliation in real time. The referee's response was equally inadequate and showed either poor training or complete incompetence in handling emergency situations. Wrestling referees are supposed to be advocates for the performers, empowered to stop matches when safety or dignity is compromised. This referee should have immediately called for a pause, thrown his shirt over Liv to provide coverage, and signaled for someone to bring proper coverage to the ring. Instead, he seemed frozen and uncertain, looking back and forth between Liv and the hard camera as if waiting for instructions from the production truck rather than taking initiative to protect the performer who was clearly in distress. The several seconds of indecision before any meaningful help arrived felt like abandonment, leaving Liv exposed both literally and figuratively while authority figures who should have protected her did nothing. Liv's opponent deserves credit for immediately recognizing the severity of the situation and attempting to help. She moved her body to shield Liv from certain camera angles and appeared to be communicating with the referee about getting the match stopped or at least paused. But even her helpful intentions couldn't fully protect Liv from the cameras that continued filming and the production team that continued broadcasting rather than cutting away. The opponent's attempts to help highlighted how the actual wrestlers in the ring were showing more professionalism and concern than the production team and officials who were specifically employed to manage these kinds of emergencies. The crowd's reaction was a disturbing mix of gasps, uncomfortable laughter, and people immediately pulling out their phones to record the moment for social media. Within seconds, footage of Liv's wardrobe malfunction was being uploaded to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and every other platform imaginable. Despite WWE's attempts to scrub the footage from official replays and online clips, the reality of modern technology means that thousands of people captured and preserved Liv's most humiliating moment. She'll never be able to fully escape this incident because it will exist forever on the internet, ready to resurface whenever someone searches her name. The permanent nature of this humiliation is something Liv will have to live with for the rest of her life and career. Have you ever experienced a moment of public humiliation that got recorded and shared? How did you cope with knowing it was out there forever? Share your experience in the comments, because many people can relate to Liv's nightmare even if the circumstances were different. The solution WWE eventually implemented took far too long to arrive. A ring crew member finally brought a towel or jacket to the ring, but this happened nearly 2 full minutes after the initial malfunction. 2 minutes doesn't sound like much in normal time, but when you're partially exposed on live television in front of millions of viewers, 2 minutes is an eternity of trauma and humiliation. During those 2 minutes, Liv had to continue the match while trying to hold her gear in place with one hand, making her vulnerable to her opponent's offense and unable to properly defend herself or execute her own moves. The match became a farce where protecting modesty took precedence over actual wrestling, but WWE let it continue anyway rather than stopping immediately to address the situation properly. When coverage finally arrived and Liv was able to somewhat secure her gear, the emotional toll was already catastrophic and visible. Liv's eyes were filled with tears that she was fighting to hold back. Her hands were shaking. Her usual confidence and swagger were completely gone, replaced by visible trauma and the desire to be anywhere else but in that ring. The match limped to a conclusion that nobody cared about anymore, with Liv losing in a finish that felt rushed and awkward. But the result didn't matter because everyone watching knew this match would only be remembered for the wardrobe malfunction and WWE's failure to protect Liv Morgan when she needed it most. The backstage scene immediately after Liv exited through the curtain was heartbreaking according to multiple witnesses. Liv immediately broke down crying, not the work tears of a wrestling angle but genuine sobs of someone who just experienced a traumatic and humiliating event. Multiple female wrestlers rushed to comfort her, forming a protective circle and helping her to a private area away from cameras and other personnel. Reports indicate Liv was inconsolable for quite some time, repeatedly saying she wanted to quit and never appear on WWE television again. The emotional damage exceeded the embarrassment of the moment itself, tapping into deeper fears about being objectified, disrespected, and not protected by an organization she dedicated years of her life to. Do you think this incident will permanently affect Liv Morgan's confidence and performance, or will she be able to overcome this and continue her career? Share your prediction in the comments section. WWE's official response came several hours after the incident and was inadequate, corporate, and tone-deaf. The company released a brief statement saying, "We regret the wardrobe malfunction that occurred during tonight's match. We are reviewing our procedures to prevent similar incidents in the future." That's it. No specific apology to Liv Morgan by name. No acknowledgement of the production team's failure to cut away. No mention of supporting Liv through this traumatic experience. No indication of whether anyone would face consequences for the mishandling of the situation. The generic, legal department-approved statement felt like damage control aimed at protecting WWE rather than a genuine expression of concern for their performer who'd just been humiliated on international television. The social media reaction has been predictably awful, with Liv Morgan's name trending for all the wrong reasons. While many fans expressed sympathy and support for what she experienced, others shared screenshots, clips, and inappropriate commentary that made the situation worse. Some people victim-blamed Liv, suggesting her gear was too revealing or that she should have been more careful. Others made crude jokes and memes, treating Liv's trauma as entertainment rather than recognizing the genuine harm she experienced. The toxicity of internet culture was on full display, showing why many women have legitimate fears about wardrobe malfunctions that go beyond the immediate embarrassment to include the permanent digital record and ongoing harassment they'll face. Other female wrestlers' responses revealed the shared fear and empathy they all felt watching what happened to Liv. Multiple women posted supportive messages on social media, with some sharing their own experiences with near misses or actual wardrobe malfunctions that didn't get broadcast but were still traumatic. The solidarity among female performers highlighted how this is a fear that all women in wrestling live with every time they step into the ring. Unlike their male counterparts who generally wear more secure and practical gear, women are often given elaborate costumes that prioritize appearance over functionality, creating inherent risks that male wrestlers don't face. The systemic nature of this problem suggests WWE needs to completely rethink how they design and approve ring gear for their female performers. The legal implications of this incident could be significant if Liv Morgan decides to pursue action against WWE. Multiple employment law attorneys have commented that WWE may have violated its duty to provide a safe working environment by failing to protect Liv's dignity when they had clear opportunities to do so. The extended time before cutting away from the malfunction, the failure of officials to stop the match immediately, and the inadequate response afterward could all be cited as evidence of negligence or breach of duty of care. If Liv can demonstrate that the incident has caused psychological harm, damaged her reputation, or affected her earning potential, she might have grounds for a substantial lawsuit that would force WWE to change their policies and procedures around wardrobe emergencies. The comparison to how male wrestlers' wardrobe issues are handled exposes a clear double standard. When male wrestlers have gear malfunctions, cameras immediately cut away and the issue is addressed without broadcasting the problem. The protection is automatic and comprehensive because production teams recognize that dignity and privacy matter. But when a woman experiences a wardrobe malfunction, suddenly cameras linger, wide shots aren't used, and the incident becomes a spectacle rather than an emergency to be managed discreetly. This differential treatment suggests that WWE views their female performers differently, potentially as objects to be displayed rather than athletes to be protected, and that perspective needs to change immediately. Can you name an example of a male wrestler's wardrobe malfunction being broadcast as extensively as Liv's was? I doubt you can find many examples in the comments because male performers are protected in ways women aren't. The impact on Liv Morgan's career trajectory is impossible to predict but potentially devastating. Some performers have overcome humiliating moments and come back stronger, using the adversity as motivation to prove themselves. Others have never fully recovered from public embarrassment, with the incident defining their career and overshadowing their actual accomplishments. Liv's path forward depends partly on how WWE books are going forward, whether they treat her with extra sensitivity and give her opportunities to rebuild her confidence, or whether they make tone-deaf creative decisions that reference or exploit what happened. The company's handling of Liv over the next few months will reveal whether they actually care about her well-being or just view her as another expendable performer. The gear design and approval process WWE uses for female performers needs immediate review and reform. Multiple sources have reported that women often have minimal input into their ring gear, with designs being created by people who prioritize aesthetics over functionality and safety. Performers should have veto power over gear that doesn't feel secure, and rigorous testing should be required before any new outfit is worn in a live setting. The fact that Liv's gear failed during a routine wrestling move suggests it was never properly tested under the stresses of actual performance, representing a failure of WWE's quality control and safety protocols that never should have happened to a professional performer. The trauma counseling and support WWE provides to Liv Morgan following this incident will be crucial for her psychological recovery. Wardrobe malfunctions can trigger intense feelings of vulnerability, violation, shame, and anxiety that don't just disappear once the immediate situation is resolved. Liv will need access to mental health professionals who specialize in trauma to process what happened and develop coping strategies for the ongoing fallout as footage continues circulating and people continue discussing the incident. If WWE doesn't provide comprehensive support, they're abandoning Liv to deal with trauma they played a role in creating, which would be unconscionable and potentially legally actionable. So here's my final question, and this is the one that really matters: is WWE legally and morally responsible for Liv Morgan's humiliation because their production team failed to cut away quickly, their referee failed to stop the match immediately, and their gear approval process allowed unsafe costume design? And should Liv receive significant financial compensation and public apology, or are wardrobe malfunctions just unfortunate accidents that nobody can be blamed for? Get in those comments right now and share your perspective, because what happened to Liv Morgan is either WWE's fault and should result in serious consequences and policy changes, or it's just bad luck that happened despite everyone's best efforts, and there's no middle ground between those two positions.